Hello there and welcome back to my channel, or if this is the first video of mine you are seeing, then welcome. I thought it would just be fun today. I just went through my makeup collection. I pulled out all these products sitting right here next to me, and I thought it would be fun to do a sunflower inspired makeup look. I think that is the perfect look for going from late summer into fall. I just love the colors of sunflowers, that kind of like my shirt, that kind of color, and then those really beautiful rich dark browns. I think that makes a beautiful eye look as well, and I even have this shirt that I think is going to match. Except this shirt doesn't have sunflowers, but if you can see, it has a little deer on it, which I love. I found this shirt at Walmart like a long time ago. It's kind of like a large t-shirt kind of thing, but I just love the color of it. I think it's perfect for this video, so let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, first thing, for my eyeshadow primer, when I placed my last Sephora order, I got a little sample size of the Urban Decay eyeshadow primer potion, and this one's the original. There was also a little sample of the one in the shade Sin, so they all have different shades, but I'm just going to squeeze out some of this. Then I'm going to take this Flawless Concealer brush from e.l.f. and just blend that out. I will say this, lately my Milani eyeshadow primer has been putting me down. Everything I wear over the top of that, it creases, and I kind of wondered if it was just because of this hot weather. However, I just think that now it's just not going to work for me the way it used to. I've had a chance to wear this one a couple of uses now, and I've noticed that everything I wear over the top doesn't crease. So I'm going to finish up my Milani eyeshadow primer because I still have, a lot left in that tube, but I think that afterwards I'm definitely going to switch over to something different. I do want to still try the Divina one that was recommended to me, but until then I also might just go over to Ulta one day and pick up this eyeshadow primer because I haven't had any issues with this one at all. Now for my face primer, I'm going to go in with the e.l.f. Liquid Poreless Putty Primer. This one is just in my everyday makeup drawer for the remainder of August. I actually finished the primer that was in my drawer this month, so this is the one that I use to kind of fill in. Also, I don't know if there's just so much air in this, like it's constantly coming up out of that little tube. I don't know if there's just so much air in it, I don't know. But it's been like that since I purchased it. I do like this stuff though, but I just wish that wasn't an issue. I'm just going to place that kind of like in my T-zone area. I have two eyeshadow palettes here, mostly because one palette did not have all the shades that I need. I didn't have one palette in my collection that had this kind of mustardy tone that was still available for you to purchase. This is the only one that is still available. This is the Profusion Harvest palette, and the only shade I'm going to be using from this one is that shade right there called Gather. To me, this palette is missing a deep, rich brown. If it had that, then I would have used just this palette. But since it doesn't, I'm also going to be pulling in this one from e.l.f. This is one of their bite-size eyeshadows, and this one is in I Love You a Latte. And I want to be using this shade and this shade in this palette. I just feel like the other palette is missing this kind of shade, which it needs for me to be able to do this look. But now, of course, you don't need the eyeshadow palettes that I'm using. This was just what I had in my collection. The only thing I had to work with. It's very obvious that I don't have a lot of these kind of tones. I'm overrun with like neutral palettes like the browns, but not a lot of colors like that. Now, I don't really feel like I have to set that eyeshadow primer, but I always like to go in at least around from my crease up to my brow with a setter shade just to kind of make the blend more easily. So I'm going to use this shade right here in this e.l.f. palette, and I'm just going to take that on that same Flawless Concealer brush, and I'm just going to kind of just run that right here. I don't have to really worry about bringing it on the lid. You can if you want. I have done that plenty of times, but I'm just going to place it right there. Then on a Sigma E24, I'm going in with this shade right here. And I'm going to run that into my crease. I might have to pick up more. I just picked up a small amount. I'd rather start small and then go in with more as I need. I need a little bit more, definitely, so I'm going to go in with some more in that palette. You could totally do a halo eye with this, and at first I had planned on doing that, but no, I think I'm just going to do like my usual kind of eye look that I love, like the lighter shade here, the deeper shade out here. I just like the way that looks on my eye shape. I will say these little bite-sized palettes from e.l.f. are pretty good quality. I think some are better than others, for sure, because there have been some that I've decluttered in the past. But for the most part, they're really good. And if you love the neutrals and you want like a little 4-pan palette, this one would be perfect. The I Love You a Latte one. That same brush, I'm going in with this deepest shade right here. And I'm going to press that on this outer corner. Kind of like the deepest part of the sunflower. And then I'm taking my little silicone mat and really rubbing that brush on there to get the rest of that pigment off. So there's no excess left. And then I'm going back around that shade and just kind of blending that out even further into that first shade that I placed down. And then we're just going to do the same thing on this side. You know, I actually think ColourPop used to have a palette that was sunflower themed. Wasn't it an all matte palette, I believe, but I think it's been discontinued now. That's a shame. They should have kept it. That would have been perfect palette for this look. And mind you, I'm saying sunflower very loosely. This is basically like a neutral look, just with a pop of like a mustard yellow, but I don't know. Every time I see this kind of look on someone, my first thought is sunflower. So that's why I wanted to call it that. Besides, I really like doing these types of looks anyway because I find that it kind of helps me use more of my collection too. Like, I haven't used this little palette from e.l.f. in a while. And I wiped off the excess on that brush and I'm going in just to blend now. Now, I have used the Profusion palette recently. I did a fall-inspired video not that long ago, and I used that palette by itself. But I find that I can use more products like this and just kind of use what I have sometimes. I love trying new things. I will always love trying new makeup, but it's nice to use what you have too. I always want to do like a balance on my channel. I don't ever want it to be just reviews. I want it to be, you know, a little bit of everything makeup related. Now I'm going in with that shade Gather on a Sigma E57. And we're going to press that all in here on this beginning half of my lid. I'll probably have to go in a few times because I really want to make sure you can see that shade. That shade definitely does match this shirt. I mean, you know what? Sunflower, you could also say this is Bumblebee too. Or like, no, Honeybee. Honeybee. Or Honeybee's the one with, no. So one of them is more brown than black. So maybe that would be, I think Bumblebees are more black than brown. I don't know. I don't pay attention to insects. I kind of avoid them. You could also say this is a cute little honeybee inspired look too if you wanted to do that. If you're not into flowers. But these types of looks just always remind me of a sunflower. I just think they're so pretty. And this is the perfect summer to fall kind of look if you were someone who was inspired by the seasons when doing your makeup. Okay, I'm just going in with the Tarte, this is, what is this? The Tartelette XL Tubing Mascara. I just have a little mini size here. I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera because that's probably pretty boring to watch somebody do mascara because I make weird faces. So let me do that right quick and I will be right back to do my face. For my foundation, I'm going in with the Tower 28 Sunny Days Tinted Sunscreen. This is Tin Larchment. There's a lot more in this than I gave this little tube credit for. It's still a little difficult to squeeze product out, but there's more in here than I thought. I love this stuff though. I already have a backup of this stuff because I just love it that much. Some of these products that I'm using today, I just kind of included from my everyday makeup drawer because I still want to be using those up as well. But a few things I did pull from my collection. For concealer, I'm going in with the Tower 28 Serum Concealer. This one is in the shade BH. I'm going to place a little dot here and here and here on both sides. This shade is a touch of a brightening shade on me. So I like to bring one right here just to kind of even out the brightness so it's not just a little semicircle. And then I'm just going to use my sponge for this. This is a really lovely concealer. I really do like this one. I love these very lightweight kind of products. So you can kind of see what I mean. It's just a little bit too brightening. I'm not a fan of that. I like my concealer to be skin tone shade, like, or my skin tone shade. I don't want it to be brightening. I don't like that look on me. Now, before I go in with powder, I do have a liquid blush here. Now, I was really torn on the blush. I had two different ones that I wanted to use, so I pulled both of them out, and I'm going to mention them. Now, you could also take your bronzer and just place that all over your face, kind of wear your bronzer like a blush as well, but I love blush, so I always want to include it outside of the bronzer. The first one I had was Tarte. This is the Tarte Maneater Blush and Glow Cheek Plump. This one is in the shade Buff, and then I also had one of the Wet n Wild Color Icon blushes in the shade Naked Brown. I was torn on which shade to use. I think both would look really beautiful with this look because they are similar shades. This one just has a little bit of a peachiness to it, like a peachy brown, whereas this is like straight up like a bronzer shade. But I've been dying to use this again. I really love this product. I want to use it more, but I know this would be pretty too. But I think I'm going to go with this one. I think I'm going to go with that one. But I wanted to give both options. Now, normally I like to place this on the back of my hand and then go in with a brush, but I'm gonna try dotting one little dot on my cheek. I'm just gonna see if that works. It might be a mistake, but at least I'll know for the future. Now, this brush is from Refi. This is their little face brush. I love this little fluffy side for liquid or cream blushes. Powder, it works good with powder as well. I'm just gonna do a dot like that. Now, this does have the slightest of scents to it. It kind of has like a florally scent. Oh, that little hair right there. So if you don't like scents, just be mindful of that. But it's not obnoxious. I don't find it to be really overly strong. But I do want to point it out because I know some people just do not want scents in their makeup products, which is very fair. But it's really subtle. Like, I don't even smell it. I smell it on the brush, but I don't smell it on my face. Now, it's a soft, delicate blush, which is something that I really do love. I love a blushy moment sometimes, but see, that to me is so beautiful. I might have to add another little dot just to build it up a little bit for you to be able to see it on camera. I don't know how. I know that the lights and the camera and all that wash out some of these colors, so I might add just a touch more, but it's good to see, though, that it does work if you dot it directly on the cheeks. Some products just do not work well like that. I find that it can sometimes be very overwhelming when you do this. I know I certainly don't do it with the Rare Beauty blushes, but now those are a lot of pigment. This, or at least this shade, is much more of a softer shade. I think that's such a gorgeous shade. And see, just building it up that little bit, look at that. It's very subtle, and I love that as well. Now, the Wet n Wild blush would have a little bit more of an impact if you want a definitely bronzy, blushy look. But if you want something a little bit softer, this is perfect. I love this stuff so very much. And me trying to get this shade, it was kind of a process because every time I'd go to the Ulta near me, they were always sold out of this shade. So I eventually had to purchase it online, which is fine. I'm not, that was fine, but I was hoping I could have picked it up in the store. They always had the little tester there for this shade, and the moment I swatched it, I fell in love with it. Okay, we're going to add just that little dot on this side, just a touch, just to add a little bit more pigment like I did on the other side. And then what I'll do is I'll swatch both of these together. I completely forgot to do that. I'll swatch this one next to the Wet n Wild one. I forgot to do that. But I think there are a lot of shades in this line of blushes from Tarte. So if you didn't like this shade and you were interested in trying this product but you weren't interested in this shade, I would definitely look at some of the other shades. But this one, to me, I feel like this one's so perfect I don't even need to look at the other shades. That's how I feel about this one. And I'm just going to take what's left on the brush and just go across my nose a little bit. Not necessary, and I'm going to go over this area with powder in just a second, but I figured whatever's left, I can just do it like that because it's pretty. It's such a pretty shade. And it kind of maybe tones down that brightness a little bit. Of course, now the powder I'm going in with is a little bit of a brightening powder. But I'm going to try something different with that powder today. Now, let me swatch this blush for you next to the Wet n Wild one so you can see the differences. And then there you can see the Tarte and the Wet n Wild. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of blend this out a little bit so you can see them side by side. Now you see it's a very similar tone, but this one has a touch of peach to it versus this one, but it just depends on what you're looking for, what you're going for. And also price point. The Tarte one is like 30 something, whereas the Wet n Wild one, those blushes, they're not that expensive. I'm not sure exactly what their price point is, like maybe around, they're less than $10, so that also could play a part in what you want to wear. Now I'm going in with powder. I want to keep using this one from Tower 28. This is their Get Set Translucent powder. The first time I used this, I used a larger puff, and I found that it seemed to kind of, either I didn't get any in that inner corner because that puff was just so large and it just kind of like it had worn away there. The second time I used one of my little smaller powder puffs and it looked much better, but today I'm going to try it with a brush. I'm just trying different methods with it to see what works. So let me tap out any creases that I might have, which is pretty minimal considering that that Tower 28 one is like a very hydrating formula. And I'm going to take a fluffy eye blender brush from e.l.f. I'm not sure if they still make this brush, but I think it would be a perfect little size for on the under eye area. And then let's press that in. Just right in here. And we'll see how this does with a brush, because I've used it now with a large powder puff, a small powder puff. Let's try it with a brush. I know you can't see, you probably can't see what I'm doing, but I keep wanting to hold this up. There's no mirror in this. Of course, I get why they probably didn't do that, because it makes it more, I guess, recyclable. And then we just press that in right here. This is kind of what I meant when I said that it didn't matter what part of the, if I went across my nose with the blush, because I knew I'd be going over the top of it with a powder. Now, if you want to definitely pack more of a punch with this powder, then a puff is the way to go. Of course, you're going to get more product like that, but it just kind of depends on what you want. I think it worked better with the smaller powder puff, and it looks, so far it looks good with the brush. I did not like it with that large one though, because maybe it's because I felt like I couldn't get much into this inner corner because that puff was a little bit larger. Okay, let me finish up these under eyes too while I'm here. I'm going back in with this shade right here from the little e.l.f. palette and run that along my lower lash line. I think I'm just going to take it, well, halfway actually. Like right out here. Then I'm going back in with that Gather shade, and I'm going to place that on the beginning half. Kind of give me that little bit of that mustardy sunflower color on the lower lash line as well. And here is this eye look all done. I also went ahead and did my brows. I just used my Laura Geller brow pencil and then my Kosas brow gel. So I just went ahead and did it off camera because that's the same routine that I have been doing for a while. For bronzer, I'm going in with the NYX Buttermelt bronzer. This one is in the shade Buttercup. This bronzer is everything. I would totally recommend this to anyone. And I'm going to take that on a Flawless face brush from e.l.f. I just find that it is incredibly pigmented. It's a lovely tone. Look how it looks so nice with that blush light. They're almost like one, which is even nicer. You could have totally taken this bronzer and used this as your blush as well, instead of going in with an extra step if you didn't want to. But I, of course, wanted to wear a blush, and I've been dying to wear that Tarte blush again because it's so pretty. You can just see how it just goes so well together. I'm going to start out with this pencil from Tower 28. This is one of their one-liner multi-liners in the shade Color Me Fine. And it just looks like that. I thought this would be a really perfect shade for this type of look. These are my favorite lip liners. And then I like to fill in the top and then blot down to transfer that color. And then over the top, I'm going to take the Tower 28 Shine On Lip Jelly in the shade Cashew, which looks like that right there. And there we have this really pretty sunflower-inspired look. I really love the way this come together. It's just pretty. Now, you could, of course, have made this an all matte look. Some people might have felt like that would have made more sense maybe for fall time. I feel like you do see more matte looks during that time of the year, but I'm not really fully into the matte looks myself. I'm fine with being a little more matte in my T-zone, but I do like for my face to have a little bit of a healthy glow to it. So this was kind of like my take on this, but I do hope that you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, I hope you will please consider leaving a like, a comment, or subscribing if you haven't already. And make sure you hit the bell icon so you are alerted to all my future uploads. Follow me on Instagram at jessicadeerly, and all of these products will be listed and linked for you below. They are affiliate links, so if you click through and purchase, I do earn a small commission, and if you choose to do so, thank you so much for supporting me and my channel, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!